The young royals calling it their forever home. A fitting name for a house on the grounds of Windsor Castle with its 900-year history. The Prince and Princess of Wales, William and Catherine, made the move with George, Charlotte and Louis during a school break, reports say.
It started quietly, almost without anyone realising. One morning, familiar paths were blocked. A car park that had been open for decades was suddenly closed with only a few days' notice. Fresh fencing cut across fields that had always been left untouched. Cameras appeared, where people were used to seeing nothing but open sky. All of this unfolded soon after the Prince and Princess of Wales settled into their new £16 million home inside Windsor Great Park. Some locals say they are devastated. Others feel as though they have been pushed out of land they believed would always be theirs to enjoy.
It will be a fresh start after a few difficult years facing Catherine's cancer diagnosis.
The cancer journey is complex, scary and unpredictable for everyone.
Windsor was one of the late Queen's favourite homes.
And now the question hanging over the community is how one royal move managed to reshape a landscape that had barely changed in generations. Today, we're unpacking the full story behind Forest Lodge, the new ring of steel surrounding it, and the widening tension between royal security and long-standing public access. This is not a simple case of neighbours annoyed about a fence. What happened here touches on history, tradition, privacy, and the reality of what it means when a future king chooses to live inside a public park. Forest Lodge was meant to be the next chapter for William and Catherine. A large, secluded, 8-bedroom property hidden inside the Great Park, with enough land to give the children room to grow and the family space away from constant public attention.
And the site of many royal occasions, most recently a visit by President Trump.
It's been a really tough few years for them. And so I think there is a sense of not just wanting to upsize and have a bigger family home that's going to suit their lifestyle.
They even moved sooner than expected and held a thank you event for the teams who spent months preparing the house. But although the move looked smooth from the outside, locals had been noticing unusual activity around the grounds for a long time. It started gradually. Dog walkers noticed trenches appearing along the fields in early spring. Then came fresh hedges, followed by heavy-duty fencing. Workers resurfaced the driveway leading to the property. And then, unmistakably, security cameras went up around the perimeter. For people who spend every day in the park, these changes stood out immediately. The Great Park is known for its natural beauty and historic atmosphere. Seeing construction equipment and security installation on that scale raised quiet concerns.
Perhaps of wanting to leave some of the unhappier memories.
William and Kate's 8-bedroom mansion is just one of their homes, including a large apartment at Kensington Palace in central London.
But no one knew the true reason until the email arrived. Residents say they received the notice with only 3 days to prepare. The message came from the Crown Estate and explained that part of Windsor Great Park was being designated as a protected zone under the Serious Organised Crime and Police Act. Once the designation took effect, access through Cranbourne Gate would end on the 29th of September. The car park would close the night before, and everything behind Forest Lodge would fall within a controlled boundary. The changes hit people like Tina in a very personal way. She had walked those fields every day for 15 years. That stretch of land was woven into her routine. It was where she took her dogs each morning, where she chatted with the same familiar faces, and where families had followed the same paths for generations.
I mean, so Keira, if this is their forever home, is that yet another sign that William plans to be a really different kind of king?
You know, Craig, it might be.
Earlier in the year, she had heard whispers about possible closures. Most neighbours brushed it off, hoping it would amount to nothing. Some were not worried at all because they assumed the royal family owned the park outright and could make adjustments without affecting anyone else. What they did not realise is that Windsor Great Park is part of the Crown Estate, not a private royal property. And for decades, the public had been allowed to use those areas freely. When the boundaries were revealed, it became clear that the impact was much larger than anyone expected. The exclusion zone was often said to be 2 miles wide, but residents say the practical effect is much larger. Around 150 acres of accessible land have been closed off. The loss disrupts long-established routes and replaces open countryside with hedging, signage, and surveillance systems. Anyone who crosses into the protected area without authorization risks arrest. Tina said that when she realized her access would end in a matter of days, she went for one final walk through the fields. She ran into a woman who had just read the email and was crying. These are not people who casually visit the park once a year. These are dog walkers, horse riders, and families who have built their entire routine around these paths.
For a short time, they will live close to Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, formerly Prince Andrew, who was recently stripped of his titles by his brother King Charles over the Epstein scandal. Andrew is set to leave Windsor for a new, more isolated home at the Royal Estate in Sandringham.
For some, it is their social life. For others, it is where they find peace. Losing it feels deeply personal. And it is not just walkers who have been affected. Reports indicate that 2 families who lived in cottages near Forest Lodge have been evicted because their homes fell inside the exclusion area. A children's environmental education centre that operated within the zone has been forced to shut down. Wildlife groups say they are working with the Crown Estate to find an alternative, but nothing has been confirmed. Some insist they understand the restrictions, and they point out that William has always been protective of his family's privacy, especially after watching how his mother's life was affected by constant intrusion. In a recent comment, he said that once you allow that intrusion into your home, the damage can be long-lasting. He has vowed to shield his children from anything similar. Supporters say the security measures come from the Home Office, not from William and Catherine personally. Still, even those who empathise admit the changes have been dramatic. Windsor Great Park is enormous, but the Cranbourne route was unique. It offered long fields where dogs could run off lead, quiet trails lined with oak trees, and easy access from local car parks. Rangers Gate car park remains open, but it was designed for horse access and is much less convenient. To reach any off-lead areas from there, dog walkers now face a long trek.
William and Kate's move has been carefully timed. Their oldest son, Prince George, is now 12 and will start high school next year. A family making decisions for their children like any other, except that this family includes 4 heirs to the throne.
Still, even those who empathise admit the changes have been dramatic. Windsor Great Park is enormous, but the Cranbourne route was unique. It offered long fields where dogs could run off lead, quiet trails lined with oak trees, and easy access from local car parks. Rangers Gate car park remains open, but it was designed for horse access and is much less convenient. To reach any off-lead areas from there, dog walkers now face a long trek. To understand this situation completely, it helps to look at the Wales family's housing history. Before moving to Forest Lodge, William and Catherine lived at Adelaide Cottage, a much smaller residence also located in Windsor. It allowed them to be close to the castle and closer to the children's schools, but it did not offer the privacy or long-term comfort of a larger home. Before Windsor, they lived in apartment 1A at Kensington Palace, which remains their official London base.
This house is secure, it's good for them, there are no pictures even of them moving. Another little clue might be that it is close to the high school where Prince William went to school. Could that be their plan for Prince George? It's also close to Kate's parents.
But apartment 1A is surrounded by public walkways and tourist access points. It is not an ideal place to raise children who are now school-aged and increasingly aware of the world around them. Forest Lodge was chosen because it blends privacy with proximity. It is close to the castle, close to schools, and set inside thick woodland that naturally shields the home from long-distance viewing. It was also described as a forever home, a place the family could remain for decades without needing another major move. That long-term intention explains the scale of the work. The hedges, fencing, resurfaced drive and cameras were not temporary measures. They were part of a full security transformation, meant to protect the estate not for months, but for years. And when a residence is designated under the Serious Organised Crime and Police Act, those boundaries are generally permanent. The Crown Estate insists that the vast majority of the park remains open, and that they have tried to minimise the disruption.
Also could be a sign that they don't plan in the future, for example, to move into Buckingham Palace, which is, of course, a huge property. This is much smaller, even if it is 8 bedrooms and close to London, which is pretty good for most of us, Grace.
They say only a small area has been officially sealed off. But for the people who use the Cranbourne side every day, it does not feel small. Tina described it as losing her back garden. Others say it has taken away the one place where they could relax and escape daily stress.
This situation also raises an important point about public expectation.
Because Windsor Great Park is used so often by the royal family, many locals assume the family owned the land outright. They did not. It is part of the Crown estate and has always operated as a public space, with royal influence, but not private royal ownership. That misunderstanding has played a significant role in the shock people felt. They believed access was permanent. They never considered that a future king's move could instantly close it. As the months pass, the debate is ramping up. Some say these measures are necessary and that anyone in the same position would expect strong protection for their family. Critics say the loss of access is too much, and they should have found a balance without sealing off so much land. Both sides agree on one thing: the Wales family is here to stay, and the new boundaries are unlikely to change.